what's become of the average continental soldier? The merchant who left his shop? The farmer who left his field? The brave men who marched away from everything they held dear to fight with George Washington for their country, and have survived to taste the fruits of their courage. What better place to learn what's happened to the soldiers after the war than in Massachusetts, the cradle of our revolution?
Whoa!
So, James, you want to know what it's like for us Continental soldiers now that we've come home?
Yes, Captain Shays.
Well, come on. I'll show you.
Where are we going?
To court.
You're throwing me in jail because I can't pay my debts? I borrowed that money I owe because the government asked me to, so I could buy more grain to grow more food for our army and the French army. Take your hands off me, sir. Now that there's no more soldiers to feed, I can't sell my produce. And instead of helping me who helped you, you make me sell my farm to pay my debts. And when the money from the sale doesn't cover my debts, you throw me in a cage. Me and darn near every other farmer in Massachusetts. We were soldiers. We risked our lives fighting for your freedom!
This is not justice!
We fought for this country! Give us back our farms!
Order! Order!
Let him go! We won't stand for this!
These, James, are what you describe as the fruits of the Continental soldier's courage.
Let me go! It's not fair!
State's answer to our honest petition is silence. Or just about.
This won't stand! We must act!
If the courts mean to take away our farms and throw us in jail, maybe we have to close down the courts any way we can.
We'll take our freedom!
Down with the courts! We'll fight if we have to!
Wait! Wait a minute, everyone! Fighting your own government? Has it really come to that?
I'm afraid it has, James. We owe it to ourselves. And yes, we owe it to our country!
The Revolutionary War left American states in debt. To raise money, legislators raised taxes. This angered poor farmers and war veterans to the point where they formed a rebellion and almost caused a civil war in Massachusetts. Daniel Shays, a former captain in the Continental Army, led the protest, which came to be known as Shays' Rebellion. In the summer of 1786, several thousand of Shays' followers prevented tax collection and used force to keep debtors out of prison. They headed to Springfield to seize weapons, intending to force the Boston legislature to change the law. Massachusetts residents were terrified. The legislature realized it was powerless. The Continental Army had been disbanded after the Revolutionary War, and the federal government had no money for new troops. Finally, wealthy merchants in Boston agreed to raise an army of over 4,000 militia to fight Shays' men.
These men were talking about forming a new country out there. There's no telling what might have happened. If Shays' Rebellion had flourished, if these guys had been able to grab all those guns and had arsenal and armed a big army, it would have been a very bad thing for the country. The people in Boston sort of put together a 4,000-man army and marched across western Massachusetts and basically blew Daniel Shays and his friends away. They all ran for their lives when they saw these guys coming at them.
Shays and his troops were eventually pardoned, and Massachusetts began to offer tax and debt relief. Locally, this clash was anticlimactic, but Shays' rebellion had momentous consequences for the nation. It highlighted a weakness in the Articles of Confederation, which didn't give Congress the right to establish or fund an army.
The impact of Shays' Rebellion was convincing people that we had to have a really strong federal government. Washington, and now I say to Hamilton, and a lot of other people said, this proves that we've got to have a new constitution.